No more heroes, it's killer be kill. Wait. Okay, it's video time. And well, no more heroes is obviously the topic for today. From the glorious mind of Suda51, with inspirations across every single piece of media you can think of, we have No More Heroes 1, 2, and 3. At least those are the ones I'll be covering in this video. There is Travis Strikes Again, which is certainly very different from the other games, but I'm not gonna play that one for this video. The main reason being that it's not really part of the main series. I know it heavily ties in, but at the same time it's also a spin-off. Also, to be honest, the game is $40, it doesn't go on sale, doesn't look the funnest, and do I need to remind you guys? I'm cheap. No More Heroes is a series I've never played, know nothing about, but at the same time, it's also one I've been recommended to play so many times. It's interesting to me, I'll be honest. It looks really cool, from cover pictures to trailers, you know, base level stuff. It looks like something I think I'm really gonna enjoy. But then I flip the page. If I look at the Steam reviews, the games have very mixed reviews. And to be completely fair, it is mostly performance type issues, but even then when I research on forums on other things, it's still kinda mixed. There's one thing though that seems constant, a lot of nostalgia. So I'm kind of interested to see if this is some overrated nostalgia, or if the games can really back it up. And I think that about sums it up. No More Heroes 1 through 3, my first playthrough ever, with the review for every single title. I guess I should probably say these days at the beginning of my videos now. Like the videos, subscribe, show some support. The comment section, I'm always open to have a conversation. If you're trying to explain something to me, if you want to tell me where I'm wrong, I'll listen. So yeah, let's just go check out No More Heroes. Beginning our first story out of the three, we're introduced to our main character for all three, Travis Touchdown, who, well, off the bat, I can definitely tell he's a character. He's dumb, violent, loud, pretty dumb. You know him. It's pretty easy to understand what type of character he is right off the bat. Travis lives in the grand city of Santa Destroy, and on a whim he just becomes an assassin because he can. You know, it's a normal career trait. His goal is to become the #1 ranked assassin. Pretty simple. He seems very interested in Sylvia, the lady who set him up to this gig and guides him along throughout the game. So he does it all. He goes all the way, completely ignoring when he learns it's some kind of scam, and becomes #1, at least in his mind. He kills his sister, which was the #1 assassin, learns he has a twin brother, and learns nothing about Sylvia. That's pretty much the ending of this game. But before I talk about what I thought, I want to start by saying I actually didn't experience many of the issues the reviews were showered in. My first crash occurred at 5 hours, and it was on the same screen a lot of the reviews described. And while there were a lot of random little frame drops and stuff like that, it wasn't unbearable. It was nowhere near that point. So that's great. We're starting off at a really good point when comparing it to the reviews, which is kind of like the secondary point of this video. Now that means we should get on to the rest, which there's no reason really to delay it. I didn't enjoy No More Heroes 1 that much. I really tried to understand this game, and I think I do understand what it was trying to go for. I think. The plot, maybe it's all meant to seem kind of meaningless. Like, I'm not even trying to hate or be funny, but like, that's the vibe that like was given to me. We start with Travis in a bar, drinking his sorrows away. It doesn't seem like he's a person with much direction. Sylvia, this goddess-like figure to him, comes out of nowhere and tells him that he can be something. A #1 assassin. So he does it. No questions, picks up the blade, and it's all to reach this validation to be #1. He sends the huge amounts of money to Sylvia, not even questioning it, not even when he's told it's a scam. All that seems to matter to him is that he can become number one. Then number one's revealed to be his sister, the one that killed his family, which he's kind of hinted at throughout the game, but at the same time, it doesn't really seem like he ever cared about that part of it. He kills her, and instead of celebrating or even being sad, he just killed his sister. He just remarks that it's over, which is just insane. His goal the whole time, become number one. He got his revenge for his family, which did seem to bother him, but there's no emotion. He then goes back to his simple home in the simple city of Santa Destroy like nothing ever happened. To me, this story just felt like a huge mess without much meaning. To me, Travis seems like a man who's lost, a man without meaning who's desperately searching for it, and he thinks he finds it in this game, but he doesn't really. It's just something to make him feel better in the moment. To me, it makes sense. A character who's lost, a character who doesn't have much going for him, to the funny, hilarious mood this game has going on. Maybe I'm wrong though. I'm very ready to admit that I just misunderstood the whole game. But that's the idea I felt like at the end when I was writing this out. Travis's quest for all this death is just meaningless. If we do reflect on a true ending though with Henry, he kinda seems to break through this idea. Henry kind of almost like lets him see that life might be bigger, and they phrase it as him finding paradise at the very end. But as a player, I can't understand this at all. Why make us play through this quest that just feels meaningless? I don't want to finish a game's story and feel like there wasn't a point to it. I just can't figure it out. My thought process goes a bit like this. I'm wondering if maybe I'm overthinking it. Is this a weird attempt at presenting find your meaning in life, some theme like that? Or am I really overthinking it and the plot is just bad? It's the weirdest situation ever for me, and in the simplest, honest terms, I just didn't like the plot. On the other hand, Travis and his cast are really cool. They help this very story feel a lot more alive. Most of the characters are obviously meant to be simple little references to pop culture, or they're dumb ways to make fun of stuff. Travis Touchdown himself is obviously created to poke fun at a certain group of people. You know who I'm talking about. But at the same time, he is a real ass dude. You got the way he charges his sword. Yeah, to him being too soft to kill women. I can't think of a better way to explain his character other than saying this dude literally uses a toilet to save. There's also moments where he'll fight a dude obviously imitating Darth Vader, and it's hilarious because obviously he's using a lightsaber the whole game.
A joke. You don't remember me, Travis. I am your true father. Blood does not make such mistakes.
He's definitely a character, but he's a really hilarious one. I was really not expecting it. Travis is a simple otaku, hornball, and nerd, but still he's really cool while being all those things in one. In most games, I feel like the gags Travis represents would fall flat super quickly. These pervert type characters, these loud type characters, are like one-off jokes and I don't really want to see it again. But I feel like the formula they did with Travis is a perfect example of it. He's the perfect ratio of stupid and cool that I honestly never found myself failing to laugh at. I want to see more of him. I'm so excited to play the other games. He's super cool, he goes hard, and dude, he's Travis Touchdown. I want to see how cool he continues to be. Sylvia is the one who sets up the assassin's fights for Travis, as well as the one he seems to fall for. And Travis, I get it.
I'm running late for my facial. Catch up later, okay?
What?
It's the accent. It's the accent. I swear, she's got me. I'm sorry. That was not me at all. But back to Sylvia, because that's what's important here. But Sylvia is really interesting. She constantly wants Travis to fail, saying things like he won't make it, saying things like she's 1000% sure he won't make it, but she's just taking his money the whole time. It's revealed she's scamming him, the money he's been paying for all these fights has gone straight to her. So then why does she want him to lose? That doesn't make any sense. Then she seems to be genuinely interested in him towards the end, which, okay. It just all makes me think like there has to be alternate goals. Like maybe I'm thinking too much, but who knows. Besides that, the moments with Travis and her are hilarious. I love their like dynamic that they've got going on. He's a hornball, but she teases him, and it's great, and it's just, oh, it's some of the best moments from this game. She's also on the cover of 2, and she's in 3, I know that, so obviously she returns, and I'm excited to see what they do with her because all she is in this game is a scammer. Oh, and then her husband, Henry, which I guess Sylvia just runs off on him to steal money from people. Okay, he's just as strange as her though, and we learn pretty much nothing about him except for he's Travis's twin brother. Yep, explaining all of this just feels like I'm talking about a dream. This No More Heroes is so weird. But moving on, I really loved this game's character design. I tapped on it with Travis and saying that like he's really cool and that, you know, I like what he's got going on. But you can tell that they put an effort with everybody. It's not only the main cast, the assassins, every single one of them look good. All of them are easily recognizable, and it's great that their designs obviously are meant to play a funny part or meant to represent what their character's going to be. Let's look at some examples. We have Speedbuster, a grandma and the last person you would expect to be an assassin, and one that's speedy at that is the one who has a shopping cart that turns into a railgun. And it shoots really fast. That's why she's speedy. And Destroy Man, when you look at him, you can tell he's obviously trying to be some kind of superhero. And well, what do you know? I feel like his character is meant to make fun of or poke fun of at like how exaggerated comic books are, how silly they are. And that's exactly what he is. Or there's Shinobu, who you can tell she's a reference to Japanese culture. Her hair instantly made me think of cherry blossoms, I don't know why. She's purposely made to seem like a character out of a Japanese film or anime. Also, she's on the cover for 2, so I'm really excited for that. But yeah, they aren't the only characters like this. Most of the assassins, almost all of them, are interesting in their own way, just like Travis and other main characters. I'm really hoping this is a trait that continues into the next titles, because it was one of my favorite parts of the game. Then finally, the gameplay. If we go back to the beginning, I said I didn't enjoy this game that much. But it seems like, up to this point, I've enjoyed a lot of the parts of it. The gameplay is the part that dragged it all down for me. Starting with the combat, it's just not the greatest. This is a remaster of No More Heroes, not a remake, it's nothing special. So it's still very reminiscent of the original Wii release. Now, I've played a lot of games on the Wii, so I understand the limitations and the controller of that console. And I think the combat here is a pretty good sum of what it was like on that console. It's a ton of button mashing still. The parts where you would swing the controller are just moving the stick. It's not as action filled. It's just a lot of changes like that. All of it just ends up feeling clunky. The battles get repetitive fast. It's button mash, move the stick fast, and then repeat. You get it. It's really simple. It just led to the combat kind of getting boring pretty fast. There is a slot machine type system though, and that's what surprised me a lot. I was not expecting something like this. I love the system like this in Crisis Core, so I imagined I would really love it here. Well, no. I felt like the rate to get a power-up was actually incredibly low, and when I did get a power-up, there was never enough enemies in the room, or I had already beat them all. At least the stupid shit Travis just screams when getting one is funny enough to make it worth it.
Blueberry cheese brownie.
The gameplay loop was even worse though. It was by far the worst part of this game. You basically get to do the silly, fun, dumb boss fight, and then you go straight back to the city to collect money. The city itself is very bare, boring, as well as the way to get the money. And you have to get a lot of money. You can do jobs and assassination missions to get the money. It's pretty simple. The missions themselves are basic, killing enemies for money, and the jobs are tedious things like mowing lawns, finding cats, whatever. The jobs give very little money, but they're at least something interesting. I just felt like a lot of them had janky controls, but that's nitpicky. The missions are a lot of money, but once you do one, you kinda do them all. So after each assassination duel, you get sent back to city to do it again, it being more and more money every time. This wouldn't be terrible, but with how bland the city is and how much the money methods just suck, it's a torturous process to have to repeat 10 times over. Then we get to the actual duels, the boss fights, what we just worked so hard to pay for, and they are worth it. They are the best element from this game. As I said before, the assassins are a huge part of that. They have really good designs and they add to each fight, making each fight very unique in its own way. But I feel like each fight is just slightly weighed down by the combat. The further and further the game went on, the harder and harder it got to play. And I don't mean like it literally was hard, I mean like I just had less and less and less fun. Even though the fights are cool, the combination of the gameplay elements were just what was weighing me down. And by the end, the only thing that was keeping me going was Travis himself. Finally, by the time I beat the rank 1 fight, I was ready for it to be over, and I seriously thought it was over. I didn't know there was a secret boss fight, Henry. And this is where I have to admit, I technically beat the game, because I guess this is a secret ending. Technically, the game ends right after you beat Jean. But I didn't fight Henry. I fought Henry for like an hour, and then I closed the game, watched the true cutscene on YouTube, and I enjoyed it just like that. I really just don't care. I wasn't about to do all of that and not feel rewarded in any way, and I was so ready to move on by that point. Side note, I did go back and beat him after I played through No More Heroes 2. So I am not a total fraud. I just, at the time of recording all the stuff before this, I hadn't beat him. With that though, it leads to my overall score for No More Heroes 1, and that's a 40. I didn't hate No More Heroes at all. I can definitely see the charm that this game has and how it has this cult-like fan base. And I can definitely see why Travis and what goes on in this game can draw so many people to it. No More Heroes is definitely a great example of how to do dumb fun right, but that alone couldn't get close to carrying it for me. The gameplay as a whole never stuck to me and was never too enjoyable. Maybe a big part of that is that it is an old Wii game that I'm playing on an Xbox controller. Maybe if I was playing with the Wii remote, that extra action it provides maybe have made it better. But who knows. Then there's the plot. The plot itself couldn't hook me at all, and I couldn't grasp much from it, but then again, I'm really willing to admit that I just got that really wrong. Maybe a lot of these issues and things could be fixed with the replay, but that's not what this video is or what it's meant to be. It's meant to be my first reaction to No More Heroes. These complete review videos are my look into a game series from the eyes of someone who's never touched them before. I think if I did multiple playthroughs, I scanned every little detail, sure I'd be able to tell you everything about the game, but that would completely take away all of the magic that a first playthrough has. I don't want to leave the game with negativity though. We still have 2 more games to play, and there's a lot of room for enjoyment. I'm going to leave this game with the hope that the second game got it right. Maybe something will spark me to revisit the game, who knows, but let's move on.
Hold it, you violence-loving bastards. Before you start your desperate struggling, you should drop a nice save.
No More Heroes 2 is a sequel to No More Heroes 1, and we still follow Travis Touchdown. Well, obviously, I don't even know why I said that. Coming out 2 years after the original game, there's a lot similar to the original game, of course. In some ways, it's funny, because in the first game, Travis wanted to become the #1 assassin, and I guess he did even if it wasn't real. And in this game, he wants to do the same thing, but that kinda makes no sense because he was already #1, right? Well, I guess he just disappeared. Why doesn't really matter. What matters is that Travis just needed a reason to come back for a sequel.
I'm in it to win, baby. #1, here I come.
With that, 2 begins because of revenge. Travis returns to Santa Destroy just as his best friend, Bishop, is murdered by a mysterious CEO that's taken over the city, Jasper Bat. Jasper Bat is also the current rank 1 assassin, so I guess here we go again with the Assassins Organization stuff. Which, I thought it was a scam. Like, what happened there? How does it actually exist now? I thought the Assassins Organization was set up by Sylvia to be a con. It's also became a sport. It's killing people is a sport in this world. I couldn't tell if there's an actual in-game explanation for this I just somehow missed, or if it was a retcon. I'd like to think that maybe Travis's weird killing game in the first game just inspired someone to make the organization, and that's why we have it now. But yeah, Travis is now on a new quest, one he seemingly didn't want to do in the first place, even if it seems like he enjoys killing. It follows the same formula from the first game. He cuts down the new group of assassins, becomes #1 again, killing Jasper Bat Jr. and getting his revenge. And I will start out by saying, I got so much more out of this story than I felt like I did in the first game. I think that's because this story feels like there's actual layers to unwrap and look through. This time around, it doesn't seem like it's only about the action, but the game actually felt like it wanted to tell something with Travis. After the first game, Travis disappeared. And just like I said before, the reason doesn't really matter, but because of his actions, the whole entire city of Santa Destroy changed. Assassination became so popular, it seems the UAA has also somehow became a real thing. It became a sport, violence ran rampant, and this leads to his best friend's death. It's entirely his fault. The actions he did led to this, and that led to his best friend's death. So Travis is forced to fight against the system his actions created. It seems Travis enjoys the killing aspect of it in the same way he did in 1, regardless if it's because it's an action game or he just is psychotic. He is very clear this time that there is a reason for it. It's not senseless murder for him anymore. There's a reason this time. Revenge. In the first game, it felt like senseless murder because he enjoyed it. But in this game, he's constantly at Sylvia like, let me get at him, where's the next target, for revenge.
Better hurry. Like you said, I don't want anybody getting to that bat bastard first.
Also, it does seem like this story is trying to mock the player playing the game the whole time. It seems intentional. We see cool fights, cool assassins, cool everything. It's No More Heroes, but we have Travis just over it. Poor dude just got sucked up into this for his revenge. The only fights he actually seems interested in are the ones that are honorable. And when the honor of these fights is disregarded, he's furious. He curses at Sylvia. And when it seems like she doesn't care about this, she sees it all as a game. She's just like us. We don't really care about these characters too much. We just really like the fights. We'll probably just play the fight and forget about it entirely. Then there's the point that these assassins look up to Travis. The game purposely makes sure that that's known, that they look up to him, that they see him as a hero. And this is like mocking the players. We see Travis, we look up to Travis, we love seeing Travis come back and fight, regardless if his goal changes and if like him as a character, as a person, even wants to be fighting still. Then finally, in the final boss, Bat replicates all of Travis's allies' heads. And it's meant to remind us, like, this whole thing is for revenge. then they're fake. Travis learns they're fake, and it's like, it's trying to make fun of us for pretending to care about the revenge in the first place. The story feels like it's trying to mock players for not caring about the deeper issues in a game. They know we're here for Travis touchdown and the battles. We're here for his personality. We're here for the No More Heroes energy. And yeah, they're right. We probably don't really care that much about the deeper meanings of stuff. I think it's perfect irony that creators who make a crazy funny game like No More Heroes know exactly what they're making. A funny game that most people will see as action, as hilarious, and they'll just love Travis. So they chose to give this game a message towards the players that are there and just for that. Sure, the game is fun, it's crazy, and you don't need to pay attention to this, it doesn't really matter. But if you notice it, it's kind of like a big fuck you. And I don't know, I thought that that was the perfect dumb idea for a No More Heroes story. Then there's the ending that falls outside of that entirely. We've seen Sylvia this whole game in this call girl type of setup while being Sylvia.
That birds go mad, caking the ocean surface with their dead bodies, drowning themselves to escape her cry. Not all of the island's prisoners have been moved. You don't have to believe me. You can believe what you want.
She's given us extra information about the world, bosses, events, literally everything we would want to know as the player. And at the end of the game we learn, if it wasn't obvious enough, she's talking to Travis. Years after the events of the game, she's speaking in this call girl setup, going over the game, adding context, ending with her begging to be taken home. When we beat the game, well, Travis returns, and we get to take her home. Now together again, they run back to a rundown destroyed Santa Destroy. Okay. I don't know if this is a way of saying Travis has gotten over all of his issues with his best friend's death, all that, or if it's a way to say he's forgiven her for all the assassination UAA bullshit. Either way, I feel like you can interpret this scene however you want. It's a good note to end the game on.
Travis, my no more hero.
So we're gonna go on to everything else. Starting with Travis. Travis touchdown is always gonna be the main points in these games. I know it. I know going into 3, I know from 1, he's always gonna be this crazy dude. He has these crazy battles he partakes in, and he's Travis. Everything I said in the first game still applies. He's still saving on that toilet in the same old motel, riding on the same crazy bike. He's still great. He has the lightsaber, and you know, him going after revenge in this game wasn't that bad. The more and more I see of Travis, the more and more he reminds me of Deadpool. In the same type of way that he's this ironic, hilarious character, no matter what, you can't replicate their energy, and if you see something that involves them, you instantly know it's about them. Sylvia's also back, and she's not a con artist this time, but actually now a real UAA official, and is still a tease to Travis, always. She fulfills the same role from the first game pretty much, but this time her and Travis actually end up together, which was really cool to see. Shinobu and Henry also return, and they're playable. Their return seems to be like to make people happy, as sequels tend to do. No complaints. I knew Shinobu was coming. I didn't know Henry was coming back though. That was a cool surprise, and it was a weird surprise. His boss fight was weird. They were fun to play as. I was happy to see their changes, and I really wasn't asking for much for them, so I enjoyed their part. Oh, actually there's one more character they brought back, which is Destroy Man. Which, why? I don't know. He already wasn't one of my favorite assassins from the first game. It's just, he does return, and it's just weird. Other than him, the assassins pretty much followed the same role as before. I feel like not as many of them were as random or as like, I don't want to use quirky, but quirky as the ones from the first game, but most of them were still highly entertaining and silly and just looked cool and were cool. I wouldn't say they were up to the level of one, but they were enjoyable. Some of them were really fun, like where you would fight with a mech, and then the one with the astronaut, I thought that fight was pretty interesting. But I feel like if I was to compare it to the first game, not as many fights stood out. But that's pretty much it for the characters. I feel like there wasn't as much character moments or as much to talk about with characters, because the game pretty much was just Travis and Sylvia. The other characters just popped in and the assassins weren't as interesting. Moving on to the gameplay, it resembles the first game, but doesn't at the same time. And just like No More Heroes, I had one really big complaint. It's the same exact complaint, the gameplay loop. But before that, we gotta talk about the reviews claims when it comes to performance and just how the game runs. Just like No More Heroes 1, I only had one crash and the weird little hiccups like before. Still though, it was nothing that hurt the game. Yet again, performance-wise, I would say the reviews were wrong. So let me get into those gameplay loop complaints, my actual complaints. And okay, look. I had a problem with the loop feeling super bland, repetitive, and everything else that entails in one. But here, they removed that completely. Yeah, sure, it solves some of the problems. And I will say I did enjoy it more, but it also creates just as many problems. They completely removed it all. They didn't try and fix it, they didn't really do much about it, it's all gone. Like, they actually found a way to make it too simple. It's at the point where if you really wanted to, you can run through the whole entire story by only going to the objectives and the motel. We basically went from the most annoying gameplay loop to there being none at all. Then there's not much incentive to do more than the story. For example, I don't want to grind 300,000 for these expensive blades when they give me the cool dual wield ones from the cover for literally free from the story. Wow. It's an actual shame too, because I made sure to try every single one of the mini games and they've got cool revamps, they're a lot more fun to play, and there's a good amount of them to do. It's just, after trying them, I had no reason to grind them for money or anything. Outside of the minigames, the gym returns, shops, and best of all, Gene. Gene being my favorite minigame because, well, it's the silliest minigame ever. Basically, Travis helping his cat to lose weight, it's stupid. It's perfect for this type of game. Why wouldn't I sit there and do it? And it's probably the only minigame I actually kept up with. Other than that, it was literally just mission to mission, which it probably shouldn't be like that. My only minigame that I want to do shouldn't be to help a cat lose weight. Overall though, the mission to mission story experience isn't that bad. It actually really doesn't ever get the chance to get stale, as I feel like the story lays itself out pretty well. As I already talked about the bosses, you know what I think about them. I think a lot of them are fun and good, just not as good as the first game. Even when Travis gets to an annoying boss like this, well, right after it, the story breaks itself up and gives you Shinobu to play with, a great, refreshing character that I want to mention isn't a reskin of Travis, but actually has her own kit to play with. Then there's also Henry, which it's the same thing. If I'm only going to be playing the story, at least it was broken up well enough for me to never feel like I had to force myself to play it. I can say that is mostly due to me being able to play as those two other characters, and it made me really wish that maybe this game could give you the option to do another playthrough as one of them, like how you can replay DMC as Virgil. I should also mention though that while the world and all of that just kinda sucks and it's gotten a lot worse, the gameplay has actually improved a lot. I wouldn't say it's on a whole nother level, but it's definitely an improvement when you compare it to the first game. Combat can obviously still feel a bit button mashy and especially clunky, but that's probably because we're still on a Wii game. But the variety in weapons and the new features like the tension bar do make it feel a lot more fleshed out and a lot more better to actually play. The slot machine mechanic I was heavily disappointed in when I played the first game is pretty much the exact same, but I feel like I was actually getting the power-ups at the right time now. I don't know if that was like my experience before, because whatever, it felt better this time. To sum those actual power-ups though, they're pretty much the same loud yelling random things, but Travis can actually become a tiger. It's okay. Travis touched down the tiger. But yeah, there's not that much to mention. It just feels a lot better, but I don't think they've completely solved it for me yet. So we're gonna have to see about that in No More Heroes 3. That's basically it with No More Heroes 2. I've covered all that I want to, and there's some small things like this game's phenomenal soundtrack I don't think I can say enough about to make it a point, but No More Heroes 2 felt like a big step up, and I liked it a lot more than I liked the first game. I was able to grasp what this game was about way easier than I did with the first game, and I think that's the biggest point that actually made it a lot more likable for me. Together, everything led me to a score of 70 for this game. Even though I did spend a lot less time in this game than I did the first one, I got so much more fun out of it, and overall 2 does feel like the better game for me. Even if I have to say it doesn't feel like a perfect experience yet. I had a lot of fun with it, and I would come back to do the 100% if it was not glitched. Stupid game. But reflecting on the secondary purpose of this video, I do understand what people were saying about this game. While the numerous reviews about crashes and performance seemed heavily exaggerated, the reviews praising this game from a place of nostalgia seemed really valid. Yet again, I see what draws so many people to these games, but with this one, I found myself having a way better and easier time understanding that. I also gotta say, it seems like it's a weird thing to enjoy the second game more than the first one when it comes to No More Heroes, but hey, I like it a lot more, and I'm just gonna say that. Lastly, before I do play the third game, I'm hoping it does manage to find that balance with my issues and become a favorite game. No More Heroes 1 was 2 was good, I enjoyed it a lot, but nothing yet screams perfect to me. So I am really hoping 3 is great. And because I have friends that say it's a phenomenal game, I'm believing in it and I'm really excited to go play it. So I'm gonna stop speaking into this mic and I'm gonna go load up the game right now.
Downward fucking dog!
Finally, we make it to the final game of this video, and currently the newest game in this series. Releasing over 10 years later from 2, No More Heroes 3 is obviously pretty different. I say different because, well, obviously this game is way newer than the other ones. The other ones had like 2 years between them, this one has over 10. So it feels completely different to play and it looks a lot different. It seems they went into this story with the idea they didn't want to do another assassin focused story, but they wanted Travis to follow the same type of quest. So what do you guys think they did? Well, let's think about it. He's become number 1 2 separate times now, and while doing so, he's fought the most outlandish enemies possible. He's fought an astronaut, had a mech battle, and he's even fought innocent old grandmas. So think about it, how could they possibly make it crazier? Aliens. They have Travis going against a group of crazy aliens. It's literally the most No More Heroes thing to do, and it's the perfect move. 1 and 2 each had their own things going on. You know, the revenge, the assassins organization, whatever else went on. But now there's a whole new entry that's over 10 years apart. They had to do something new. And it seems like they just decided, let's go as crazy as possible. And so all the weirdness starts. We get the weirdest intro ever with Fu and Damon, and it's creepy. And then we see a band of aliens coming to take over Earth, led by Fu, or Jean Baptiste VI. Fancy ass name. He employs a system similar to the rank up missions we've seen in the first 2 games to encourage Earth's heroes to try and reclaim their planet, and it all falls to Travis. Again. Travis is joined by old faces Anu and Jean, who I have to mention can talk now.
Something wrong?
No, it's just I always assumed you were a female.
Are you tweaking? This is how I've always sounded.
That's pretty badass.
They fight through aliens with twists and turns at every episode, and I mean actually every episode. The story uses this episodic format, which honestly was super cool. It reminds me of old cartoons, and like the little intros and stuff remind me of like old kaiju movies. The outros for each of these little episodes are really good too, mainly because they each feature a beautiful song that is just, oh, it's such a reward to sit there and listen to because it's really good. But yeah, Travis just fights off an alien invasion, which is hilarious that he's capable of that. Like, Travis Touchdown at the end of this game is the most powerful being in his universe. Travis obviously becomes number 1 again, and in the most chaotic, weird ending ever, as I had come to expect from this game by this point, Travis meets his twin children and his grandchild. They've come from the future to stop Henry, but they need his help. And I don't even know what to say about that. My jaw was dropped the whole time. Not because it was like some insane plot twist, more like, how did it even get here? How did it get this ridiculous? But that's not a bad thing. But yeah, No More Heroes 3 probably had my favorite story experience out of them all. There's so much at play to just really make it the most enjoyable game. I already said how much I love how they made it feel like an old TV show with the outros, interviews, etc. It almost feels nostalgic. Maybe that's how I would describe it. It just really brings a good feeling to the game. I also like the callbacks to some of the retro sections from the first and second game, where they have the little side story with Damon going on, as well as the little Deathman minigame section. It's cool. Then there's the big part that I feel like they decided, let's crank it to the max. The weirdness scale, which is a crazy thing to say. The game was loud, crazy, just weird. In every single way I would expect No More Heroes to be, but it's even more. Things like Henry becoming some cult member was a change I definitely did not expect. Well, thinking about it, considering the things he was dreaming of back in No More Heroes 2, maybe I should have seen this one coming.
Or am I?
Who's this little cutie? Is she real? Is she dangerous?
How'd you do that?
Read your thoughts? Well, you gave them to me.
That doesn't make any sense.
The game is obviously stuffed with stupid shit on purpose, and while some of it is very reminiscent of the first and second games, it still is very unique in its own way, and you can tell it has its own unique comedic charm that is only in this one. Yet again, I have to say they obviously wanted to tell the craziest story yet. It's full of twists and turns, and while they're obvious, there's a lot going for it. For once, I really want to talk about the grand boss, Fu. He actually has a real presence. He's meant to seem all powerful, and they do an amazing job showcasing that. From the moment he comes to Earth, he's absolutely scary. And then we have members of his crew telling us how terrifying he is. And in case you were doubting him at all by this point, he shows up and showcases why we should be scared of him. We see what he can do right off the bat, but we're also shown cutscenes of him throughout the game, making me so excited by the end of the game to face him. I also want to mention, Fu's voice performance is incredible. He sounds so good and his tone is so scary, but weirdly like comedic. It's a great fit for this game, all while being that terrifying role they want him to be. My favorite scene in this game is his and Travis's clash right before their big fight. It's an amazing performance.
Kill you! Oh, nice, scary eyes. That's what I want to see. Come at me. Kill me. Demons don't got shit on me. I'll kill you! You're getting real fucking crazy now. That's what I'm talking about. Ah!
While Prince Fu is amazing, it seems like his crew had to take the hit. He really is the only one filled with personality. While some of them are funny like Gold Joe or interesting like Midori, none of them come close to him at all. The real hidden boss, Damon, which I don't even want to consider him the final boss because it doesn't feel like a final boss at all, is nothing when you compare him to Fu. Fu is pretty much the only threat out of the 10 aliens to actually talk about, which, to be honest, is really terrible. It seems like they really knew that their aliens weren't that interesting. They didn't try to make them that interesting, so they instead stuffed the game with a bunch of random little appearances and moments. A lot of them are cool, and a lot of them fit what No More Heroes seems to be up to this point. It does take a lot away considering the idea of Travis fighting off an alien invasion and fighting these intergalactic warriors is cool. I wanted to see that, but it doesn't seem like it was a priority. I don't like that because in the first and second games, all of the assassins, all of the enemies, all of the bosses were really cool. They had their own quirks, they had their own things going on, and even a lot of them had much deeper meanings to their characters. But here, a lot of them are lifeless just to get replaced by another random appearance. Travis's crew is pretty much the same though. Like always, the focus is on Travis, and now his wife, Sylvia, which I gotta mention, how the hell? I don't even know how Travis managed to bag her, but I'm off topic, but you feel me on that, like, Sylvia takes on the same role though, telling Travis where to go, informing him about his opponents, and nothing's really changed about her except her design. Yeah, I don't know who signed off on that, but I do not like how Sylvia looks in this game. But Travis looks good, and just like before and before that, he's such an entertaining and unique main character. Yet again, he's still doing the same things, fighting with the lightsaber, saving on the toilet. He's Travis. He's the same Travis, just a little bit older. I do feel bad for him in this game though, because right at the beginning it seems like things are really going good for him. And then Fu comes in and cuts down everybody he knows in front of him. It seems like he actually felt really bad about this. Like he really seems to have grown a connection and almost have a family for once. And then it just instantly got taken away from him like that. While at the end it seems to sort itself out, and it seems like everybody's healed throughout the game and all that, and he even gets to meet his future generations, they just made Travis go through a lot of pain for some reason. But now, we gotta move on. Forget about the character story, all that stuff. What about the gameplay? The part that I feel like no matter what, they couldn't get right in the first two games. It was either flat, boring, tedious, or nothing at all. And well, I think for the first time, I can say they got it figured out here. No More Heroes 3 actually feels amazing to play. And it's not only the combat this time around, it's everything. With the open world in 1, it felt very bland and everything to do sucked. And in 2, there wasn't any gameplay loop at all. It was story, story, story. So in 3, when I see that Travis has access to a full open world, I was actually really hopeful that it was better. And it really is. There's 5 main islands to explore throughout the story, and while I do think it's really weird you never ever get to explore the full islands, I don't know what happened there, what we got feels really good. Travis drives around the city in the same old bike, which they changed the controls for. Like, why would you do that to me? He can get sushi, collect collectibles, and, you know, you can play any of the brand new minigames as well as the returning, but looking better, old ones. Also, since they made a whole big map for once, they can't have the motel be the only save point. So now, in order to unlock the save points across the map, Travis has to unclog the city's toilets. What a hero.
It's perfect.
Between the story rank up missions, you have to do these random showdown type of missions to not only get access to do the next rank up battle, but to earn a majority of the money for the next rank up battle. And at first, it sounds really grindy. Forced battles outside of the story that you have to do in order to do more battle. But it feels quite different when the actual rank up battles are only a boss now. These are the only free battle type of sections where you face normal enemies. I feel like this is a good choice, because rather than each level being waves of enemies and then a boss, well, you can pick and choose what battles you want to fight to get access to the boss. And not to mention, the game has pretty good enemy variety, which I felt like is something both the first two games were lacking, making each one of these battles a unique mix of enemies. Then there's the issue of it feeling grindy, which it never really felt grindy. Most of the time, you can get away with just doing about 3 of these. And then, if you want to do more, well, they keep giving you money and XP. It's easy enough to go from rank up battle to doing these missions to the next rank up battle. Then there's the actual combat that you use in every section of the game, as it is in every No More Heroes game. Obviously, because it's 10 years later and stuff is modernized and clean, it's the best combat yet. Each game has steadily improved up to this point. 1 was okay, but to be honest, basic feeling. 2 was the same, but a bit better with a few new small additions. But 3 takes a huge leap and adds a lot of new. I would say the biggest and my favorite addition is easily the Death Glove. The abilities seem to be very crowd control focused and obviously built for the multiple enemy missions, but even in one-on-one situations you can stack these abilities and easily get fun combos off. The tension meter is also changed and it's for the best. Rather than getting like a big power up once you fill it, the higher it gets, the better your sword gets. Combos are longer and smoother. Then, the power-ups themselves have continued to grow even crazier. On top of the other things we've grown to know, Travis has different mech modes he can now get access to in the middle of battle. Then there's other random changes, like being able to use sushi as like an item in battle, giving you a little boost or power-up, or like the wheel that spins when you die, making it so that when you respawn, you either have something negative happen or something good happen. The best part of it all though is that the abilities smoothly flow together. There's no hiccups, there's nothing that makes it feel sluggish or give me an impression that I feel like I'm gonna get tired of it. The other games would feel clunky, and whether that's due to limitations or basic gameplay weirdness, 3 seems to feel like it solved it. Yet again, it's the best combat yet and is probably the one I'm gonna be the most excited to play and return to after making this video. It all just works so well, and not to mention, this game is probably the hardest one out of the 3. The other 2 you could get away with just button mashing, just maybe getting lucky with the power-ups. It was really easy. There are very few times when I found myself dying in 1 and 2, but in this game, I was dying a lot. Not only are the normal enemies difficult, they will absolutely gang up on you and not give you a chance, the bosses themselves hit hard. They are difficult. You actually have to think about like playing smart in this game. And I thought that added just another layer that made it a lot more fun. Then there's the boss fights, which to be honest, I'm mixed about. Each assassin filled with personality in the other games. But here, like I said earlier, they suffer a lot. It's hard to remember a lot of the boss fights for this reason. To me, none stood out too heavily, and that's just because they're really lifeless. Don't get me wrong, some fights were great, and you can tell they tried to switch it up and try random things, and some of them did land for me. The final boss against Damon being a total Smash Bros ripoff was stupid, and the perfect contrast for me not enjoying his character and really caring in the first place for him, to him having quite possibly the dumbest and funniest type of boss ever. Oh, and Travis has a musical chairs match. I didn't think I would be playing musical chairs ever again, or in a video game in the first place. The traditional fights like Henry and Midori are super good, like some of the best in the series, which only makes me want more of those fights. The dumb gimmick ones are cool, but I'm willing to say that I'm really here for the crazy badass ones like this. Another issue is that because the story wants to twist a lot, some of the more interesting aliens got cut completely. And I'm just talking looks wise, because a lot of them don't have much lines. The biggest example I can think of is probably Sniping Lee. When I learned he was next, I was thinking of all the boss fight possibilities that could be done with the sniper. Imagine Travis running from a sniper rifle or something like that. Oh, then he gets cut. What was I even thinking we'd get to fight him? But then the real boss was Destroy Man. Again, for the 3rd game in a row, we had to fight Destroy Man. That's how I'm gonna leave y'all with 3.
Destroy Man, the superhero. I destroy the evils of this world. Evil assassin Travis Touchdown. I will destroy you.
Oh, this dude is such an immature little bitch.
Even more than you.
This time, I'm really gonna mash up those brains of yours.
But that's pretty much it for No More Heroes 3. It's the final game for this video, and my final score is an 80. I feel like 3 has taken the best of the first 2 games, modernized them, and fixed them up, all while keeping it a weird, unique No More Heroes experience. While I don't think the story and the appearances were up to par as the first 2 games, I do think the combat as well as the modern feel of the game, not to mention this game having a good degree of difficulty to it, really made me have by far the most fun on this game out of the 3. And that definitely boosts my score a lot. I'm really planning to come back and maybe grind out some of the achievements for this game. I enjoyed it and I really want to play more of it, and I've been craving to play it as I've been writing out this and making this section of the video. It was actually a really good game, and it was pretty much everything I did expect it to be. I really wish there was a 4th game to play, and while there kinda is one that I haven't played yet, I don't know if there's anything up in the air for future games. The ending seemed like a big maybe, but at the same time, I don't know how they would push it crazier than this. Time travel is definitely a good answer though. And that's it. We're at the end. We're at the end of No More Heroes 1, 2, and 3. I've played all 3 of them, you've heard my thoughts, and you've heard everything I think I have to say. But before I leave you with that, I wanted to do a bit of reflecting and just kind of wrap the video up a little bit. I want to start by kind of walking you through where my mind has been while playing through these games. Keep in mind, I went in knowing absolutely nothing other than what the covers looked like and looking a bit at the trailers. I knew absolutely nothing, and after reading the reviews, I kinda got the sense that this series might be a bit overrated. So when I finished No More Heroes 1, well, I kinda got that feeling still. Then I went on to No More Heroes 2, and even though I enjoyed that game quite a bit more, that feeling kinda stuck. Sure, it was a lot more fun to play, but it felt like people might be giving this series a bit too much credit. And then I played No More Heroes 3, and it kind of just clicked for me. The games are supposed to be crazy, they're supposed to be weird, and I enjoyed 3's gameplay so much. And now, when I've finished all of them, I finished 3, I edited the whole video, I kinda wanna go back and play the first and the second games a bit more. I kinda wanna give both of them a second chance, especially 1. When I went back and played a bit more of No More Heroes 1 after finishing 2, I found myself wanting to know a bit more, wanting to know a bit more about each character. So I think I'm gonna reach the conclusion that saying it's overrated might be a bit wrong. First of all, people did seem to be overreacting about the Steam ports. I don't know what in my computer would make the gameplay the exception to how these games are running, but mine ran fine. I had 2 crashes between the Steam games. The achievements being bugged, well, that's annoying, but it's a completely different issue than the actual performance. As for the other big idea that I seen, nostalgia, well, I think I was really wrong there. To be honest, it's kind of an unfair claim to judge others' nostalgia in the first place, but I understand why these games could gain that type of feeling around them. I could understand all the ways people could see these games, and Travis especially, as a comfort and a comfort character. I think both types of reviews are valid, whether you hold the game to a nostalgic pedestal, or whether you just can't enjoy some of the older factors of them. Each point is valid, and I could see each point as being fair, but neither of them is quite wrong. The one thing I will say is very true though, is that these games haven't aged the best. I don't think I could go back and play 1 and 2 over and over again. While with 3, I could definitely see myself running through multiple times, and I think some people might forget that. And that's it. That's the conclusion I've reached after playing the first 3 games for the first time. I did let the negatives get to my head when going into the games, but after giving them a fair shot, I see there's a lot of love here. 3 did end up as my favorite, and it's probably the biggest reason my opinions changed so much, especially after enjoying 1 like not at all. I would say I've become a fan, and to be honest, after reading up a bit about Travis Strikes Again for this video, I'm quite interested and I kinda wish I picked it up to play for this video. Maybe I'll play it another day for another video. Also, another Suda51 title stuck out to me, Killer 7, and it looks absolutely crazy. Let me know if I should check those out. Let me know. Like I said before, let me know what I got wrong. Don't be afraid to comment. I'm here to listen. I'm here to chat. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Thank you for watching this far. Like the video, sub. I will see you all soon.